me, this sounds like you've dedicated your life, your career, to protecting rights.
Yes. There's a lot of things that we're dealing with right now at the federal level that is scary to the future of motorcycling. There are certain aspects of our world that are trying to basically ban internal combustion engines.
If you ride a motorcycle in Iowa, you've probably seen Thunder Roads magazine. Today, we're going to peel back the cover of the biggest motorcycle magazine in Iowa and show you the biker behind it all, Vernon Schwarte. All right, so Vernon, you started Thunder Roads magazine, yeah?
The magazine was started in December of 2009. We were asked to provide some content by the former owner. A few short months later, he said,
"You're doing most of the stuff for this magazine. Why don't you just buy it?"
So we did, yeah. There was a need for something in Iowa for motorcycle interest. And the thought was if we had something that's a little more personable to Iowa, then we can go from there.
So you wanted the local, like, homegrown mentality with it.
Different event coverage, different points of interest, different things for motorcycle rights, different things for people's ability to freely express themselves and go out and about on the highways and enjoy the sport that we love.
You're not the only one publishing this, right? There are multiple people that work on this magazine.
Yes, the group that works on this in Iowa, we've got about 15 people that regularly contribute, that write, that submit photos, that do a variety of different things for the magazine. Thunder Roads it's a national brand, if you will. So there's Thunder Roads issues in other states. We publish Thunder Roads Magazine of Iowa, and we base what we do in our magazine on what we think is fitting for bikers in Iowa.
One of the most popular sections is the massive list of events that you guys compile every year.
Yes.
You know, there's all the motorcycle events, and as far as we know, that's basically the only home for all of these events. So how do you go about collecting all of this information?
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Okay, that's fair.
We beg of input from readers, from advertisers to get us their biker events every year. We try to get them on that list. We try to have the most comprehensive list. We share that with some trusted partners, such as the biker lawyers, that gets disseminated from you guys' website also. And whenever we're out and about, and all of our crew and some friends, whenever they're out and about and see flyers hanging up, they get pictures snapped and sent to us so that we can have the most comprehensive list anywhere.
So this is really a grassroots organization at its core, and it relies on the community to give back just as it gives to the community.
Yes.
Cyclical nature. Nice.
In general, the event listing is a down and dirty, here's the basic information that you should be able to Google or Facebook search and find out more information on what's going on. As a minimum, we need the event date, the name of the event, and the starting location town. That's what's going on the event listing. A lot of people want more information than that,
Sure.
which then there's ad space that we can also sell them to expand upon things there. If it's of interest to motorcyclists in Iowa, then we will put those on the list. So
Okay.
if it's things that are hosted by motorcycle groups, dealers, shops, things like that, but primarily it's runs and rallies and things of that nature.
Now, you've been to a ton of these events, obviously.
Yes.
You're on the road. I mean, you're here, right? You rode all the way across the state to do this right here. So which events are your favorites at this point?
All of them.
Okay. Fair. I mean, there's a lot of great ones, and we've been to quite a few every year ourselves. So there isn't an overarching favorite that you like.
I have so many that I like. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous to try to come up with one. We're basically running left coast to right coast of Iowa. You know, in one weekend we'll hit both rivers. So
It's the biker version of Ragbri, I guess,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, right.
So let's shift gears here a little bit. You know, obviously we've been partnered with you guys for quite some time. We've advertised through you. We've loved our ability to reach the biker community with you and make sure that we're able to help. Where do you see the magazine going in the future, though?
We need to be able to push motorcycle rights. We need to be able to maintain our right and ability to take off on 2 or 3 wheels, and to do so in the vehicles that we choose. Also, for the future, we need to encourage younger people to get on 2 wheels. There's a variety of different ideas on how we can change that, but part of our push for the magazine for, say, the next decade is going to be trying to encourage younger riders to get out and about and enjoy motorcycles and the power sports industry.
Now, we've seen some pretty high numbers in terms of young riders that are getting into it. Like they're starting to get bikes and record numbers on that front. But we haven't necessarily seen them joining the organizations. We haven't seen bigger numbers in Abate, for instance. And obviously, there's a lot of other organizations that similarly, we have gray beards and aging organizations that are trying to find a way to include the younger generation. What do you think is going to be the best way to bridge that gap?
With the magazine, we need to do more things that are geared toward the younger population. I personally need help with that.
Fair.
Because I'm old.
So kind of a catch-22. Like, how do you get the younger generation when you aren't of the younger generation?
Correct. Yeah. Hey, Grandpa, what are we going to do? Yeah, that type of mentality. So, begging of help from the younger generation to help expand into that area and try to spark some more interest with the younger people to get on and ride.
And I mean, part of that is protecting their rights. If they don't get involved, some of those rights are going to disappear as the years go on. We've already seen several examples of that, and in other states, there's helmet laws. Iowa, thankfully, we don't have that issue. You're allowed to ride without one if you don't want to. And we're not saying that you shouldn't have one. We're just saying it's nice to be able to make that choice for yourself.
Yes.
And these biker rights, they are constantly up for litigation. And so this is part of the push with the magazine, it's part of the push with this law firm, is that we have to be able to protect the rights of the bikers. And we need to make sure that these younger folk are aware that if they don't join the organizations and they don't spark that, it's not going to continue.
Right.
We've talked a little bit about protecting bikers, about protecting the community. Have you ever been in a crash?
Yes.
And what was that like for you?
Wasn't fun.
Fair. I mean, if you're willing to talk about it a little bit, what was the injury side of it like?
The first crash, I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
Distracted driver blew through a stop sign, and
Gotcha.
I T-boned him. So, shattered right arm, totaled motorcycle. I was done for right there. That bike was done for. Arm healed, got back on a bike, but I was young, had no idea who to contact at that time, and everything was a loss. So, medical bills, everything. I wish I would have had you guys in my corner at that point.
Yeah, and that's a brutal truth. There's a lot of people that they get in these crashes and they assume their rights are going to be protected. They assume the insurance company is going to help them. And what they find out usually years down the road is that's not really the case. These insurance companies, these bigger corporations, they don't care. They're just there to make a profit. And we see how that gets pushed in the legislative side of Iowa with lobbying and everything else. With limitations on punitive damages, with limitations on non-economic damages. And these are just some of the rights that are getting pushed out right now. And part of what your magazine and our law firm works so hard to try to protect, because there may come a day where insurance just doesn't pay the bill at all.
Right.
I mean, right now they're footing some of the bill if they're forced to, but that's only because they're forced to.
You have to hold their feet to the fire to get anything.
In the spirit of, protecting bikers, you also work with Thunder Guns, is that correct? Owner of that as well.
Correct.
The point of you owning it, as I understand it, is that you're there to help people protect themselves. Is that more or less correct?
Yes. Yep. We kind of wanted a little bit of a winter time thing to keep me busy.
Sure.
If I don't stay busy, I tend to get in trouble. So.
It's a biker thing, yeah.
Yeah. So in the fall, when the magazine business dies down, events are done.
Sure.
There's not a lot to do, and so my wife and I, Melanie and I, got our federal firearms license, and we started up Thunder Guns. We branched off from Thunder Roads to Thunder Guns, and ideally, from a business standpoint, your busy time for a gun shop is the fall and the winter.
Sure.
During hunting season and things like that. And I've gotten more into the motorcycle rights aspect and the gun rights aspect. The Second Amendment protects all the rest. I'm kind of a firm believer in the First and the Second Amendment,
Sure.
if you can imagine.
Fair.
When my living involves motorcycles and weapons, it's just kind of natural.
Sure.
So we do everything that we can to make sure that our customers on both sides are well versed in what is going on, what they need to do to protect themselves both legally and physically if they ever need it.
And a huge part of that, I assume, is not just the selling of these weapons, it's about education. It's
Right.
about training.
Yes.
It's about making sure people understand how to be safe with them so that there aren't incidents that shouldn't be happening.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And I think that's critical because, there's a huge difference between somebody who's just selling a gun on the side of the road and somebody who's making sure you're educated in what you're buying, how it can be used, safety, training in how to shoot it accurately so there aren't, incidental targets.
We have classes at the gun shop in Harlan. I am an NRA trained instructor, and then also we have another gentleman, Tim Springman, who works with us, who's also a certified NRA instructor and a 30-year combat vet. So, kind of have the weapons end of it covered, and want to share our information with others.
So, to me, this sounds like you've dedicated your life, your career, to protecting rights.
Yes. There's a variety of other things that I'm involved in for that very reason. I'm a board member of the Iowa Motorcycle Dealers Association, which is also another entity that is trying to expand and keep the rights that we need to be able to ride motorcycles and experience the power sports life. Whether it be the business aspect or rights aspect, that's what that's for. I'm a assistant state rep for the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. That is a national level lobbying entity, and there's a lot of things that we're dealing with through them right now at the federal level that is scary to the future of motorcycling. There are certain aspects of our world that are trying to basically ban internal combustion engines. And there's people talking that by 2030 to 2035, zero internal combustion motorcycles. Can you imagine our world without gas?
It's a different world, that's for sure.
Yeah, yep, that's for sure. Also, the right to repair, right to modify laws that are being put in, that you can't change X, Y, or Z on your brand new motorcycle, and it's really scary that government has that much control over our day-to-day lives, that they can absolutely just tell us what we can and can't do, and we need to stand up and say, no, not happening.
Well, that's part of how this country was founded.
Yes.
Was making sure that you had the ability to choose for yourself as long as it didn't endanger others. Motto to live by. Now, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you read the latest edition of Thunder Roads magazine by clicking the link below. One last question, Vernon. If you're in a crash, who are you going to call?
I'm going to call the biker lawyers. I have ridden with every single one of you guys and have become friends, and bar none, best guys I'm going to call. They'll fight for me.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.